You are listening to Imperfect Fifth, a podcast, offbeat conversations with music industry humans that we love. Today's episode is brought to you by Easy Visibility. Let Aaron Zimmerman be your visibility guide and visual storyteller, currently serving entrepreneurs globally. And by Double Take Productions. We have no tagline, we're just twins who have been taking photos, shooting and editing film, event planning, and more together since 2010. Be sure to nab your Rainbow Kitten Surprise hoodie or crop sweatshirt in our shop. Check out imperfectfifth.com/merch to see all of our current merchandise options, including small batch handmade earrings. Today, we sit down with Los Angeles-based musician Michael Goldman, who spearheads his own musical project NONA, while being the bassist for AWOLNATION and hosting his own podcast called In the Band.
Well, I'm Michael Goldman. I'm a musician. I have my own band. It's called NONA, and I also play bass in the band AWOLNATION, and I've been a touring musician for a while, and I recently launched my podcast called In the Band, where I interview people, and I have an 8-month-old dog named Dot, named after my grandmother Dorothy, and I like fried chicken a whole lot.
Hell yeah! What's your favorite fried chicken?
Well, I'm specifically into like the Nashville hot chicken.
All right.
The best I'd say in the country is probably Royals in Louisville.
I've never had it, but I'm gonna have to have it next time I'm through.
Next time you're there, it's like I'll go when we're on tour. I'll always, like last time I was there, I only ate there, I think, except for like before the show, because that would have been a bad decision because it just sometimes can like wreck me because it's so heavy.
Yeah.
But like I think I ate it like 3 times last time I was there.
Wow.
It's unbelievably good. Easy sell if you like fried chicken. But then like I don't know, I like it really spicy, and it can be a deterrent to some people.
Yeah. Is that like a genetic thing? Does your family like spicy things? I'm not a spicy person whatsoever.
Personality wise, or I don't know actually, because I don't think my dad. I don't know about if my dad was that into spicy stuff. My mom, like, she loves wasabi, but I don't know. I think like the first band that I was in called Chasing Kings that toured in for like 5 years.
Yeah.
They were everyone else was much older than me in that band, was very influential on me when I was like 17, 18 years old, and they put hot sauce on everything. And so I think I was like, oh, that's cool. So I just started doing that. But at a certain point, you're just kind of like, well, now I just like things that are hot.
So I guess getting into a little bit of music here, and I am so sorry because you have totally answered this question for me before, but new audience, figured we'd try it again here.
Of course. I'll give you a totally different answer.
Oh, I mean, I'm down. I have all your other ones archived, so we'll just see what type of liar you are. No.
Yeah, exactly.
What was the first song or album that you remember hearing? And does that work of art have any influence on how you approach your music today?
Wow, the first music I remember hearing.
Yeah.
That's difficult. Well, probably the first stuff I remember being like, oh, this is music. It might be Crosby, Stills, and Nash, or like some Beatles stuff, because that was like what my dad would always play. My dad was obsessed with Crosby, Stills, and Nash and the Beatles and Neil Young. And like when I was 8, he took me to see Neil Young. And I don't know if that had a massive effect on the early side of my like musical life, but it's definitely stuck through in terms of like when you get I think like you there's music that your parents love, and then when you get a little bit older, you know, like I bought like a Red Hot Chili Peppers record and was like, this is music, you know, when you're 11 years old and 12 years old, and then had my own personal journey. But then it's one of those things where I definitely came back and was like, well, but the shit that I was listening to that my dad was playing, that's really kind of the real stuff. And So that's definitely stuck through. Like there's a nostalgia with it for sure. And I guess, but I don't write music that sounds like them, so I don't know. I think I just think it's cool.
You're not allowed to think it's cool. I'm sorry.
Well, whatever, I'm breaking the rules.
Per usual. Well, I guess I'm kind of curious. I have been for a second. I'd like you to paint me a picture of high school aged Michael growing up in California.
Oh, well, high school aged Michael. I think I had a pretty awesome, like, high school experience because I grew up in this neighborhood that I ended up like, you know, there were like 4 other guys that were my age in the neighborhood that we all became best friends. And then I had like my friends that I played music with outside of that. But I think I had my best friend Zach, who actually he plays in AWOLNATION now. He's a lead guitar player. And most weekends I'd go to his house and we would just like have a sleepover either there or a sleepover at my house, and we'd play music all weekend. But then I'm botching this question because I think I had such a weird mix of like, I played volleyball in high school and was like very into like the volleyball team because my friends were on that, but then also never got to start on the volleyball team because I missed too many practices because I would have band practice also.
Priorities.
So I think I was conflicted about who I wanted to be. But like that's also when I decided I was just going to be a full-time musician and probably not go straight into college, go just straight into touring. Yeah, I don't know. I just played music a whole lot. I took like 5 music classes in my junior year of high school. I was able to get my math and science done. So I only had to do 2 classes for my last 2 years of high school, like required, and the rest were all just music ones.
Nice. You rigged the system.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well. Actually, I was like in the jazz band, in the orchestra, in the wind ensemble, in the music theory class, in the independent audio recording class.
Holy.
If I could go back, it'd be good.
I know, of course, that you've toured and been a part of several acts, but your solo project seems to live pretty close to your heart. And the first time that I found out the name of it, I actually thought of the NONA books by Tommy DePaulo, and it like kind of made me feel like home, which is a weird thing to me. But if you could tell our audience about NONA and about why you've gone with that name and how it's progressed in the last couple of years here.
Yeah, I'm sorry to let you down on the like where the name comes from, but it's it's my dad's mom is my grandmother on my dad's side. I call her Nona. I just always have, and I guess it's just like it's Italian and Spanish. In Italian, they spell it with Nonna. I spell it Nona. I guess it's a more Spanish version, but it just means like grandmother. And I guess I was just being a sappy like 22-year-old when I came up with the name. I was like, well, I like how it sounds. It's like it's only positive. It only is a positive thing. Like the way that word is to me, because she's just such a sweet and lovely woman.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be a cool band name. And it's kind of been like this weird thing where I do NONA when I have an opportunity to, because my kind of career is from just playing and touring with other people's bands. And I've gone in and out of paying more attention to it. And the last year, just with the whole AWOLNATION album cycle, it's been really hard. But luckily now we have a little bit of time off, and I'm kind of trudging away at finishing the first real NONA album instead of just like an EP or singles. So I would say I'm like maybe halfway through the album making process for the first NONA record. It's one of those things too where you're like, I think I'm pretty much done with the album, and then you just keep writing, and then it's like, I could also never be done with this album because I could just keep writing more music and then ditching older songs. But eventually I'll have to put my foot down on something. But yeah, trying to definitely spend more time finally focusing on NONA since I have the time. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. What I guess with other stuff that's coming up this year, the podcast, that you're starting here, which I'd love to hear more about, and all of your other endeavors. Are you finding that it's easier to carve out time for NONA this year, or have there been some hiccups with your scheduling?
It's been easier just because I don't have any tours until like the end of May or June. And so my schedule is kind of my own, which, like, you know, you can also end up being your own worst enemy, but because there's always lots of things to be distracted by. But yeah, so that's kind of like, you know, just making my own schedule for studio time for myself. But then I also have this podcast that I just launched. And of course, luckily by the time this comes out, all the kinks will be worked out, because it was supposed to come out like a week ago, and I just fucked up how I put all the like metadata in or something, and it just wouldn't launch correctly to iTunes, and it was a whole thing. But it's live and it's out now, and it's called In the Band Podcast. It's just, I kind of had the idea because my buddy has this podcast, and I listen to podcasts all the time. And you meet so many people playing festivals and touring, and I kind of wanted to just start interviewing people from all different perspectives of touring, because there's not enough of that conversation really being had. You know, it's a lot of times it's like, well, we'll listen to Katy Perry, or we'll listen to like the artist, but there's also like behind everyone like that, there's a whole slew of incredible musicians that just that's just their job. That's their career. And those people's stories to me are so fascinating. And also, like, you know, I also interview the lead singers of bands. Like the first person I interviewed was K-Flay. And she was an awesome person to interview because she's such a hardworking artist, but she is the artist in that circumstance. But I think the idea is just to shed light and give an overall perspective to the lifestyle of a touring musician.
I love that. And also kudos on K-Flay.
Thanks. Yeah, she was great. Being after I joined AWOLNATION, that really opened up some doors in terms of like people thinking you're slightly more legitimate when you're like, hey, I want to interview this person. They're like, all right, sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of the guys from AWOLNATION. Sure. So that's worked to my benefit. But I've been touring a lot, so hopefully, in my mind, I hope I can relate to everybody that I'm interviewing. But and everyone is so damn cool that I've been talking to, and that's been the kind of most fun part about doing the podcast, is realizing how different everyone's story is too. Like, I assume it's like, well, there's probably something similar to mine, but yeah, it's all over the place, people's backgrounds and how they get into it.
All of them. So is it hard for you to decide like where to devote your time?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, like for example, last year I probably had 2 business ideas that I explored like to the fullest. One of them was an oat milk company because there was like a large demand for oat milk all over the country, and the biggest oat milk supplier can't meet the demand. And I was like, I'll start my own like organic oat milk company in LA. And that's a whole long story, but I ended up giving up on that for a couple of practical reasons. And I wanted to start a beignet business, but I also, that's a longer story in terms of where I was like, oh, okay, well, this is now turning into this, and now it's turning into this. And then it was like, what am I doing? So we're just going to play music.
The beignets are so good, too.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know, there's not that many good places to get a beignet in LA, so
or
someone
anywhere,
should do it.
if we're being honest.
Yeah, honestly, like Montreal, for some reason, when you go there, there's a bunch of like little beignet places, and they're amazing. And I kept thinking, why is that not anywhere else? So if anyone's listening to this, you should do it. I didn't, but you should.
Oh man, I'm so down to create some sort of strange like kitschy beignet chain so we can bless all of the towns in America with great beignets.
Well, my name was East LA Beignet.
I love that so much. What a strange array of interests you have.
I need to reel it in sometimes.
It's so fun though. It seems like you really have your head together, but also like an active imagination, which is how a lot of great things are born. So thank you for doing that and for creating things. Yes.
Well, hopefully it leads to something great one day.
Well, I mean, it has already. You just released a single. What inspired the track? It has such a fun, like, kind of kaleidoscope soundscape to it.
Yeah, that was also kind of why I put it out right now, is because it's an important song to me, but I also don't see it fitting in terms of like my older catalog and then my newer catalog. So and it's a theme song, like the intro is what the theme is the intro to my podcast. So I figured I'd just launch them both together.
Yeah.
And I play that one out live, and I have been, so I figured it was time to put it out. But I just was, I don't know, probably just fooling around and like I kind of had that like jazzy intro. And then I'm a really big into, I nerd out on a lot of history stuff. And for some reason that one Winston Churchill quote, a bodyguard of like, the truth needs to be protected by a bodyguard of lies, was so influential to me. I was like, that is an amazing line. So I stole that for the chorus and just kind of wrote around that. As well as probably just the angst of trying to seduce my girlfriend.
I mean, but it all works out in the end, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You said that this particular track hadn't, like, fit in necessarily with your collection. So, like, is there any hints you can give us to what direction you're going in with this album, or what we might be able to expect from it?
Just from, because I do all the recording in my room, in my little home studio, and I think it just, like, for some reason, naturally getting older, I guess I've just been going a little bit more, I don't know, like just like early rock, I would say, like slightly more towards the vibe of what I was mentioning in the beginning. So maybe I did just totally betray my opening statement about Neil Young and Crosby, Stills and Nash, because it is starting to sound a bit more like that kind of stuff, and a little bit less of I don't know. I think I just constantly am trying to move away from wanting to sound like whatever is coming out at the time, mm-hmm. and like just uninhibited versions of what I would naturally write, which is like a constant battle of like, how do you break out of the cycle of regurgitating what you're hearing and what's around you, and just kind of like be as like authentic or organic. Because like in LA, you hear so many bands that are like, yeah, cool, yeah, we're starting this band, we want to sound like Foster the People meets MGMT, and you're like, why do you want us? Like, awesome, cool, but why do you want to sound like someone else's band? Like, right. Do you think they were like, we want to sound like these people, that's our ticket to success, is sounding like someone else? So I don't know. I think the goal is always just like, how can you try to be honest and unique, be yourself? But that's quite a goal.
Boy, vey. It sounds like too much for me. All right, so then on to an aspect of your career that you did touch on a little bit. I'm just going to ask one question, then I'll pass over it, I promise. But I, after knowing you for a couple of years now, I was lucky enough to see you play with AWOLNATION at a sold-out show in an arena in my hometown. And like, that was kind of surreal for me just because I was so excited for you. But I also wonder how it's been for you to be, I know you've traveled with a lot of different bands, but you got off a stint of opening for 21 Pilots all over the country last year and touring everywhere with AWOLNATION. I just didn't know, like, what's that been like for you?
Joining that band has been really awesome in terms of like payoffs and the benefits of what you kind of like fantasize about, like wanting in, especially in like a step in a career. Yeah. Just going from being constantly in bands that are like opening up for bigger bands to being like someone that can finally headline theaters and the interaction with a crowd like that is just a whole different beast. And that in itself has been really awesome and really fun to be a part of, because Aaron's cultivated such a really amazing fan base. And then all the guys in the band have become such good friends of mine, and it's so fun to be on the road with them. So that's been great. And then going all the way to opening up for 21 Pilots was crazy, just because those guys are so massive. They're so sweet. And there was like, it's really the like level of comfort that tour brought with it. Just how easy everything was, how good their crew was, and how professional everything was, and the catering that was awesome at every single show. It's almost like it almost gets, I don't want to say like boring or old, because it's not that, but like when you're so comfortable and taken care of, it's like you just get spoiled.
Yeah. And
I think there's always like a part of me that's like, don't get too spoiled here, because like this could be over tomorrow, you know. Yeah. But it's definitely easy to get into the routine. You know, when you start walking in your green room and you're like, they haven't brought this stuff in yet. Like, what's going on? And they're like, just shut up. Like, but it's been great and definitely validating in terms of like growing up and trying to be a musician from a young age. There's a lot of family that are like, when are you going to give it up? You know, like when are you going to say you've had enough and get a real job? So it's nice to always show like, hey, it's getting better. Like, you know, things right. Like I'm still doing it. And like when we opened for them at the Forum, my whole family on my dad's side's from LA. So it was like, yeah. So like, what's going on? How's it going with music? Like, you gonna find a new job soon? And I was like, well, we're playing the Forum coming up if you want to come. And it's like, wait, you're playing at the LA Forum? Really? You know, I saw Led Zeppelin there when I was a kid. And can we get tickets for that? And you're like, okay. So stuff like that's been nice. Yeah, the best part is getting my family off of my back, I guess. Yeah, it's been a blast. Especially if those guys are being on stage with like all the best musicians you've ever played with is really, really pushes you and is really inspiring too. So that's also been a good part of it.
So awesome. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, then now we're just going to bounce into something completely off topic. Yeah?
Okay, perfect.
Conspiracy theories. They're everywhere from, 9/11 to Sasquatch being a conspiracy theory to Paul McCartney not being Paul McCartney. Is there any one conspiracy theory that you've heard that you're like, yeah, for sure, that's probably true?
Just in terms of being completely honest, I don't want to offend anybody here. I feel like the Trump-Russia thing, if you consider that a conspiracy theory, if you just look at it as a black and white thing, it seems like there's probably something going on there. And then also, like, I never consider myself a 9/11 conspiracy theorist, and I don't really like conspiracy theories, but I'm always kind of like, that seems something's up, maybe.
Yeah.
But my favorite conspiracy theory is that all conspiracy theories are fed by the government, because it's the best way to cover up bad information is by spreading a lot more information that doesn't make sense. And you see all these documentaries where it's like, okay, there's a lot of cool info here, but then this guy also brings in aliens to it, and now you kind of lost me. And they go, all the conspiracy theorists always go way too far and way overboard, where it's almost like those scams where they're trying to only lure in people who are dumb enough to believe it. So they are obviously scams in the beginning. And so it's like, okay, you're trying to scare away all the people that are logical. So they always go a little bit too far. And then my theory on that is that maybe I don't actually believe this, but it's a fun one to think about, that the government is, whenever it's like, the 9/11 thing, and they're like, okay, cool. Well, instead of just saying like, no, we didn't do it, we could just put out a bunch of information alongside the information that's out there that makes sense. And then it'll just devalue all the information that exists in general. Right? And that's like also a Russian propaganda tactic. When like that airplane went down, all the info was pointing towards Russia doing it. The flight that crashed in Ukraine, and they just kept putting out a ton of information. Like, I think they probably put out 20 different stories, and then the consensus of people on the ground was like, well, I guess we'll never know what happened. Just chalk it up to we'll never know, because there's too many like sources of information giving us different info. And that's the best way to kind of convince someone that they will never know, is by just like putting too much info out there.
But yeah, that's a very like well-rounded, very good head on your shoulders response to it. I can appreciate that 100%.
But I love talking about like all those things. I finally had like a bunch of people over my house recently that I didn't know. It was like one of my friends, like 3 of my roommates' friends, and then like 2 of their friends. And we started getting into some weird territory that's like scary to talk about in front of strangers, because there's so much today that can trigger someone to be like pretty upset or offended by something. Yeah. But everyone was able to just kind of like hear each other out, not take offense, and give everyone's opinions in the spirit of like sharing information. Like, because you got to be able to take a risk sometimes and be like, maybe I do feel that way, and I know I'm not supposed to, but like maybe I do kind of think this, and how do I reconcile that? And if you can't even say that out loud, then you're just repressing that, and then you're secretly harboring a feeling, because we don't want people to just share how they're like deep down actually feel. And it was just like the most inspiring thing that I was like, wow, I can't believe we were able to have some of these conversations. Nothing I can bring up right now, because with only audio and no face to face, everything can sound controversial. But I don't know, that was just so inspiring to me. I think that the problems arise when people believe they have some like weird monopoly on facts or the truth. When like anytime anyone argues like, no, I know this to be true, it's kind of like, well, okay, if you're not willing to like kind of think maybe you could be wrong, because how naive are you to think that you definitely are right, then you can't have a conversation.
And then if you want to get really into it, you could say like, even if you're right in this dimension, how correct are you in every other dimension and every other timeline that's happening currently right now?
Yeah. Well, no one can operate without like their own bias. Like, it's just impossible to be unbiased. So
yeah, you just got to be open-minded too.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think is the most plausible explanation for like Area 51? Do you think it was alien sightings? Do you think the government's just like testing drugs? Like, what do you think they're doing over there?
Oh man, I was just talking to someone who was like, I legitimately believe that aliens have visited the planet. And my only issue with it is like our version from like the 50s of like aliens based off of like what people saw is so outdated. And if that can be outdated, then like, okay, how legitimate is something that literally is out of date in like a few decades from what was like quote unquote discovered? Because I don't think that we have such like an anthropomorphic view of what these aliens are. And you could also then argue that that's because that's the only way we can reconcile the technology that we're witnessing that is so far beyond us. It's like, well, we have to kind of dumb it down in our minds to like, oh, it's a flying saucer. But still, I just think it would be much more complicated. And if aliens were visiting us, if they were flying all the way across the galaxy or the universe to come and just check out Earth, I think they'd probably be able to like avoid crashing or not be seen, probably just be invisible, and we wouldn't know that they're there. And Neil deGrasse Tyson's thing makes the most sense to me about how if they're like the DNA between a human and an ape is less than 1% difference, but look at how different we are. And if you extrapolate that forward to a more intelligent being, like if we were flying all over the galaxy and we found a planet full of donkeys, would we be like, hey, let's go hang out with those guys and try to like talk to them? Or would we be like, cool, donkeys over there, let's keep going? Like it would make more sense that they were like, oh, cool, it's like an early planet. They probably will kill themselves before they get off the planet, so let's just keep going. That seems to make the most sense to me. So the Area 51 thing, I just have no idea. It's probably a place for testing experimental weapons. And, yeah, I don't know. I'm not an authority on that. Although someone recently was like, you think they're flying all the way across the galaxy? You don't think that if they're visiting us, they're able to just go through wormholes and just appear here? Maybe there are mistakes that happen that way. And I was like, well, okay. I don't know anything. So thank you very much for proving that to me. Because, yeah, that would also, I guess in my head, I'm like, well, that makes sense. You know, like the wormholes, that makes a lot of sense. So, okay, now I'm on board. I can be easily convinced to sway my opinion because I can easily be convinced to be like, yeah, I guess I don't know what I'm talking about still, though. I play bass, so.
Stop it. Well, no, I mean, it's sorry. Do you have any thoughts about Sasquatch and if that type of animal is real or totally made up?
I want to believe, truly, but I just don't because it doesn't make any sense. And it's like, it makes way more sense. You know how many things I think I've seen that I know I haven't? You know, when it's like, I thought I just saw I guess, I mean, probably not because no way. Like, do I believe that random people think they saw things? Yeah, of course, because people think they've seen everything. Joseph Smith thought he followed the angel okay, I don't want to offend any Mormons that listen to the podcast.
Okay.
I just people constantly see things, and I think it makes a lot more sense that the people are seeing something that's, you know, being protracted through their own eyes or through their own brain. So I don't really believe, and there's no real evidence for it, and I feel like it'd be a bigger deal if there was some like Neanderthal descendants living out in the woods. But
yeah.
I did see that movie Little Feet with my niece.
Do you love it?
I don't know if you know about that. I was like, I like this take on Sasquatch. That was cute. I like the fact that like new movies for kids are basically like, hey, like maybe what we think we know about other people or other creatures is backwards, you know? Like that was a really positive message in my mind for kids to glean. Yeah, but also like I not super recently, but I was watching some Rugrats episodes. And like that was my favorite show as a young child, and I realized how on the nose like the morals were that they were trying to share. Like it was so obvious. But as a kid, you're kind of like, oh, they're just playing a game or having fun. Right. But it was like it was not subtle at all. It was basically like it is wrong to steal. Well, I hope they do like a Rugrats in 2020 and they're like 30 years old. Because that was the thing too, is like the Rugrats were the same age as me growing up. It was like when they were 12, you know, when they were in like middle school or something, I was 12 and I was like, oh my God, it's me, you know.
Exactly you. Which Rugrat do you identify the most with?
I don't know. I was always between Tommy and Chucky. I feel like I'm not quite either of them.
That's fair. Good little mashup.
Yeah, I wasn't totally represented in the show, but everyone wants to be Tommy. But then I think everyone's like, but maybe I'm Chucky, you know?
We all got a little bit of Chucky, that's for sure.
Yeah. Which is why it was nice. It was like you're kind of all of them.
That's
maybe
true.
Phil. Yeah, but for some reason I remember them always wearing the exact same outfits.
They did, except she always wore a bow, and then sometimes she would have like trousers and she would have a dress. Yeah.
Oh, I see. I wonder how that would hold up today. People are like, oh, well, you shouldn't put a pink bow on her because it's like telling her that she should like that, you know. Well, my sister and my brother-in-law, they definitely they raise their daughters more in like they just avoid things like they don't say like princess or anything like that because I think Frank, my brother-in-law's idea. Was like, I don't want to like tell them that like they're supposed to be precious or they're supposed to be that, you know. It's like, which I thought was nice.
Pretty progressive. I can appreciate that. You got some good people in your family, I'm guessing, yeah?
I think so. I think I'm very fortunate. My sister and I are very close. My mom's a total badass. My stepdad is a really great guy. I'm like one of those guys that's like, yeah, my stepdad get along really well. And my grandparents are great. Yeah, I'm a lucky dude.
Good job, kid.
Very fortunate when it comes to family.
Well, of course. I mean, why else would you have named your project Nona?
Yeah, my grandma Nona, she loves it because like the merch I make says Nona, and I'll send it to her, and she's just always like, oh my God, you must really like me.
Wow, man, and you have some really good merch too. I hope that anyone who hears this goes out and checks everything Nona out, because it's been fun being along and hearing all your songs as they're released, and I really, really can't wait till that album later this year.
Thank you. Well, once it's finished, I'll send it your way. Yes.
Anything else you'd like to tell us about before we let you go and get on with your day?
No, just look out for more Nona tunes and check out the podcast. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you're obviously someone that likes them or enjoys them. And if you want to hear some interesting conversations from people that you didn't even realize could be that interesting and have a window into what's behind the scenes on a lot of touring bands and what those people go through on a day-to-day basis, you should check out In the Band podcast.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking some time with us today, and I hope the rest of your day is awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.